Hello and welcome. It seems no one is immune. The world's hottest destination has announced plans for a $20 billion bailout to meet pending financial commitments. For fans of the tiny Gulf Emirate of Dubai, it's merely a correction in what was arguably the world's fastest growing spot. For critics, it's a sign that Dubai overstretched itself and is set for a fall. Well, there's no doubt the Emirate has plenty of appeal. It's famous for having the world's tallest building, lavish properties and headline-hitting development projects such as magnificent man-made islands like the Palm. When oil was above $100 a barrel last summer, it looked as if the region was insulated from the economic storm wreaking havoc over much of the rest of the world. But now many fear that Dubai could turn into a cityscape of half-finished buildings. There are now stories of successful professional expats recently let go from their jobs, fleeing the country and leaving their cars at the airport car parks. As for the army of imported labourers who built Dubai, they're stuck when they're laid off because their contractors still hold their passports. So today we ask, could Dubai go from being a symbol of boom times to a symbol of worldwide recession? Remember, you can join our conversation with your questions and comments. Log on to livestation.com/AJE, enter the chat room and then take part. We also welcome your phone calls on our show. Well, I'm joined by Dr. Nasser bin Ghaith, an expert in international economics who works as a consultant in his home country of the United Arab Emirates. He's joining us from Dubai. And from Bahrain, we have Dr. Christopher Davidson, who teaches international affairs at the University of Durham in the United Kingdom. He's the author of Dubai, The Vulnerability of Success, which was published last year and discussed the current crisis. And Dr. Tariq Yousef, who was an economist with the World Bank and IMF and is currently the Dean of the Dubai School of Government, which was launched in 2005 by the ruler of Dubai, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. Gentlemen, I welcome you all to the show, and Tariq Yousef, if I can start with you first. Can Dubai even be allowed to fail? I mean, it's after all, it's become a symbol of what's possible in the Middle East.
I don't think it can be allowed to fail. I don't think it will fail. The failure of Dubai is the failure of the UAE as a federation, as a country. It's the failure of an economic model that has proven to be rather appealing, successful, and attractive for many of its neighbors. So I don't think Dubai will be allowed to fail, neither by the UAE, by Dubai's neighbors, or by the international community. Much damage will result to the idea of a prosperous, peaceful, globalizing Middle East. And there will be a lot of damage, obviously, and a lot of severe negative consequences for people who live in Dubai, who trade with Dubai. After all, Dubai has become a hub for cultures, for trade, for finance, for services, and much will go down with that.
It seemed also to be a model for what many of the other countries, the other nations in the region seem to want to follow, the same kind of accelerated growth. It seemed to be a catalyst for other areas, Qatar, for Abu Dhabi, for Oman even, and even beyond the region.
In fact, I would say the Dubai model as a term, as an idea, has become now widely accepted and widely emulated elsewhere in the region, including in not just the neighboring countries of Qatar, Bahrain, but also in many other Middle Eastern countries. After all, if you can emulate an Arab country and be successful, it seems like a much easier proposition, and Dubai, at least for many years, proved to be successful and good at doing certain things.
Well, let me bring in Dr. Ghaith from Dubai itself. Good to have you there, sir. And let me ask you about the view from the ground. What's it like from there? I know, like Tariq, of course, Tariq Yousef is based out there as well. You live it day by day. What do you make of the stories that are coming out now, such as, as I mentioned in the opening, professionals fleeing the country and leaving their cars at the airport? It doesn't make for good publicity.
Well, it certainly does not make a good publicity, and I think it's an overstatement, to say the least. Do we have a problem in Dubai? Yes, we do. How big is the problem? It is big, although we don't know yet what is the damage sustained. We know that the affected sectors are real estate sector, construction, and closely related sector. But I don't think it's that gloomy. The picture, drawn by international media. I don't think the international media was fair with Dubai when they initially cheered Dubai as the model to be followed in the Middle East, and I don't think they are fair now when they decided, I don't know why, to declare the end of Dubai's success and the end of Dubai as a model to be followed.
Now, Dr. bin Ghaith, is the announced, just recently announced $20 billion bailout likely to make a big difference? Isn't it a relatively small amount for the kind of scale of Dubai's growth?
Well, it'll make a difference for the time being. And what they are trying to do here in the government level, whether local government or the federal government, is try to handle the problems as they come. They don't want to predict. They don't want to be over or optimistic, neither over pessimistic. I think so far they're trying to handle whatever they're been thrown at.
Okay. Well, let me bring in Christopher Davidson here, who's in Bahrain. And Dr. Davidson, you're not that much of an optimist that this is really a natural period of adjustment, are you? What is the reason for that, for your view on the way Dubai is going?
Good evening. Well, I think at the moment we've seen a brief surge in the Dubai stocks again. We've seen a brief restoration of confidence. The $10 billion bond will certainly help Dubai in the short term. It's just a question of whether this model can actually work. I agree to some extent with Tariq Yousef's earlier comments. Dubai is too big now to fail. It's part of the UAE. We should never forget that. It will be rescued ultimately. But that's a separate question to whether the model itself was actually successful if it had to stand on its own 2 feet. We must bear in mind that the bailout bond we've seen this weekend is allowing Dubai to simply refinance debts for another 5 years at interest rates of 4%. It would have never been able to get that on the international credit market. We saw only a few days ago what a struggle Bourse Dubai had in order to refinance debts of just $3.5 billion for just a further 12-month period. It couldn't really do it. It couldn't get the full amount. It had to go to the international market. And many of the big multinational banks that were on board with Bourse Dubai's debts earlier are now gone and replaced by Indian and Asian banks.
Well, let me put an email question to you, Dr. Davis. This came in from Jordan, from a viewer by the name of Tariq Yousef, who says, "It's over. Unfortunately, nothing superficial lasts for long." And I've got to ask you, isn't there a tendency, though, for people to want to shoot down a success story? I mean, to what extent has Dubai become a victim of unfair sniping?
Well, I think there's been a lot of pessimism surrounding Dubai. Superficiality has certainly levelled at it quite frequently, as your viewer has mentioned. I think that what we've seen is Dubai really become the bellwether of the global recession, or depression perhaps, that we're now entering. Dubai's model for the last 10 years or so has really been built on foreign direct investment, a real estate sector, luxury tourism. Dubai has allowed these sectors to become central pillars of its economic development strategy. Unfortunately, they're pillars of the economy which are extremely susceptible to the vagaries of the international system. That's why we've seen the bubble start to burst. Is it a correction or is it a bubble? If it's a dot-com style bubble, or if it's a Bulgarian property style bubble, then we'll never see it really get back in terms of property prices and stock prices for many, many years.
Well, let me bring in Tariq Yousef again here and say we should put this into context as well, shouldn't we? I mean, we're discussing Dubai, but it's something that the whole world is facing. We're in a situation of global economic crisis, I guess, and I guess for many people it's just a surprise that somewhere like Dubai, which was doing so incredibly well, which was growing so incredibly quickly, could end up having to take these kind of actions. What could the Emirate have done differently, perhaps, to shield itself, do you think?
I guess there's an irony in all of this, and this refers back to some of what the colleagues earlier said. The crisis in Dubai right now, in many ways, is a crisis of success for Dubai. Dubai succeeded by playing by the rules of the game of a globalizing, opening, integrating financial and trading world system. It was extremely good at that. As long as the world economy functioned and prospered and grew, Dubai benefited directly and was able to share that with everyone. What we're seeing, and I think as the guests have alluded to, is a global economic, financial, perhaps trading meltdown that is making Dubai's vulnerabilities all the more clear, all the more intense, and subjecting it perhaps to the kind of adjustment that is going to be very hard. One comment to add on this, which is the notion of Dubai's future in light of what is happening right now. If we are expecting 2-3 years down the line a completely different world economic system where globalization is gone, integration is gone, borders are going to be closed, and foreigners are going to be kept out, Dubai is going to suffer. It has built its foundations on the idea that globalization matters and it works. If what we're seeing is a recession that's going to be followed by recovery, trade, finance, all of this will boom back again, that Dubai will be in a position to benefit. I think that is where the uncertainty is on the very idea of Dubai as a model and as an example for everyone.
Well, Dr. Nasser bin Gates, of course, Dubai became famous for its big projects, and of course the Burj Dubai, the tallest building in the world, the Palm Island, and so on. To what extent do you think perhaps it was too ambitious in the speed of growth, that it was overreaching with all these projects?
I totally agree with you. I think the Dubai model before 2004, 2003 is totally then the Dubai model we're seeing today. Dubai model before 2004 was founded on a sound basis or economic principles. It have a certain numerous advantage, geographical location, infrastructure, and relative openness compared to the region. What happened in 2004 is I would call it the real estate adventure, and that's what Dubai is suffering from. It's the real estate adventure. It's just too much in a very short period of time. They had heavily depended on international finance and foreign labors, and that's the main problem Dubai is facing right now. If this adventure fails, and I think it would ultimately fail, and we're just seeing the start of it. But I don't think the Dubai model would fail because it would still attain the advantage it does have, political, economic openness, infrastructure, and the trademark. Dubai has become a trademark as not only a regional business center but a world business center. It didn't lose that. It may suffer because of this correction. Sharp correction in real estate, but I don't think that will mark the end of Dubai as a model for the Middle East to follow.
Well, gentlemen, I'm going to ask you to stand by because we're going to take a short break here. More of our discussion in a moment. As we pause, let me remind you, you can join the chat room with your questions and comments by logging on to livestation.com and entering the chat room, and you can see the debate taking place there now. We'll be right back.